Hi everybody, it's Katsumi here and welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be talking about 5 beginner tips for digital artists. These are some things that I wish I knew when I was starting out, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first one is a pretty common one and it's flip your canvas. So this one, it's pretty essential. I feel like every artist should do this and constantly. So basically here I have an old piece of mine. Do think that I did flip my canvas when I was drawing this, but if I flip it now, I mean, not too bad, but you can see she's looking in two different directions slightly, and this part is not correct. Basically, the big idea about flipping your canvas is getting a fresh look on the piece without having to really get up and take a break, which it is really important to take breaks between your artworks, because the more you look at a piece, the more your eyes get used to it and things start looking different than they actually are. So it is good to take breaks every once in a while. You know, step away and then come back later, and then you'll see it from a fresh view. And I've done this many times, and sometimes I decide to just go on for hours without taking breaks working on a drawing, and then I come back later and it's all kinds of messed up. And sadly this happens, so do take breaks. It's not only good for your drawing but also good for your health as well. Okay, so tip number 2 is always use your navigator. And what is a navigator? That's what it's called, at least in Photoshop. But so to bring it out, you want to click on window and navigator, and it shows up on my secondary screen, but here it is. So basically it's a smaller version of your canvas. So it's kind of like a reference. I think in Procreate it's under reference, which I also use on there, but it's also a really good way to basically look at your painting, how it looks overall. And another term for this is called thumbnails. Basically a thumbnail is a smaller version of your entire painting, and a lot of professional artists, for example artists at Riot, what they do is they use or they make thumbnails before they start painting an entire splash art for the game, to basically make sure the composition in, you know, thumbnail size, which is a smaller size, looks good overall. So what can happen is if you aren't looking at, you know, per se your navigator to see if the painting looks good overall, and you're like hyper focusing on one area of your painting, so say that you're like hyper focusing on like the eyes or the mouth or something, and you zoom out and the painting overall doesn't look good, is because you're probably not looking at your navigator to like really spot those mistakes. So you know, every stroke that you make on your canvas, right, it will show up on the navigator. So if I make this stroke, it shows up. So say I want to add like, I don't know, a stroke here. If it looks good on the thumbnail, it looks good overall. So basically, the concept for that tip was a thumbnail view is the best view. And just to make sure that you guys know what a thumbnail is, you just go to Google and you put art thumbnails. It's basically this. It's kind of like smaller, simpler compositions, but it really applies to the entire process of the painting, which is why it's really important to always be looking at that navigator, that smaller version of your painting, to make sure that every stroke you make makes the painting better and not worse. Okay, so the next tip is use multiply for easy shading. So if you guys don't know what multiply is, it's basically a blending mode that most softwares have, I'm pretty sure. So what you want to do, at least in Photoshop, is you can add a new layer, set it to multiply under this little tab, and what I like to do, let me make this smaller. I usually always use a purple, kind of like around here, depending on how saturated you want it. But so if I wanted to make a shadow where her ear is, this is the chibi, but it really applies to anything. So you can easily do that. And as you can see, it kind of like creates, like it basically multiplies the shading. So all the values underneath stay, you know, all the line art and everything stays the same, but it's adding, you know, shadow to it, which I really like. And I use that in this area right there behind her head. So it's a very easy way to do it. I use purple because it looks nice, but you can use any color that you want. So yeah, that's basically how you do that. I'm just like quickly adding like shadows, but yeah, that's basically the concept of that. Okay, so the next tip is use color balance to enhance your paintings. So to pull up color balance, you want to go under adjustments, and if you don't have adjustments, you go under window and click on adjustments, and then the panel should show up, and then under this little balance, literally a balance, you want to click on it, and it's going to add a filter layer. And so I like to start with the shadow, so you set it under this panel. You click shadows, and then you basically start adjusting the colors of your painting. So it's only going to affect the shadows because we are under the shadow in this little panel here. So if I want the shadows to be more blue, I just put it more to the blue tones. And then if I want more to the pink tones, or green. Really comes down to what you're looking for. Usually I do more blues in the shadows, but that's because I overall work with more cool tones, usually. This painting is already pretty saturated, so it's probably not the best example. But then we go to the midtones, so you want to change that there. And on the midtones, I usually go more pink. And then you can also add more blue if you want. And then on the highlights really varies. You can just play around with it. See the red there, the looks pretty cool. The pink, and it also makes your paintings more vibrant and just more like colorful, I guess. So there's the filter, and that was before. This is after. It also adds more contrast. If you're a beginner, it's pretty easy and you can get really good results. Okay, so the next tip kind of goes hand in hand with the second one about using your navigator. So this last tip is don't get caught up in the details, especially using small brushes, at least in the beginning of your process of, you know, what you're drawing. So, you know, when you start laying down color and stuff, or at least like in the mid part of painting, you don't want to, like, you know, have the tiniest brush known to planet Earth. You want to have like, you know, so like say you don't want to be like, you know, doing this right in like the beginning stages of your painting, because that is just going to elongate the process and it's not very efficient, and also you're not really working on the entirety of the painting, you know, as we talked about in the using your navigator on the thumbnail. So you want to not focus on the details, and you want to use a bigger brush first of all. And I know I get questions about people asking me how do I get this kind of painterly style, and it's because I use a bigger brush during the beginning stages and mid stages of my piece, and when I start the rendering stage, which is like one of the last stages, that's when I start really detailing and adding, you know, using a smaller brush to really get in those details. So, which I guess, you know, there's multiple tips in one. But so yeah, like if you see like these strokes, they're all, you know, one stroke. you know, using like this size brush that you can definitely see in the Navigator over here. And I don't start adding the details until the rendering, you know, detail process at the end. Because as I said, you don't want to get caught up in the details because it's only going to elongate the process. It's not efficient and it won't help your piece overall. So I think that's really good, because I see a lot of beginners just get like super caught up into like one eye, and they're just like there like all day just trying to like make sure that this eye is like the best eye ever, and then they forget about the rest of the piece. So you want to make sure that the piece overall looks good before you start really getting those detail in at the end. Okay, so I do have, I guess you could say, a bonus tip, or just something that I think every artist, especially starting out, should have, and that is a Pinterest. So, I mean, this should be pretty obvious, but if you don't have a Pinterest, I really suggest you get one, because it's a really good way to get references and a lot of inspiration. This is how it looks like. This is kind of like my homepage of a bunch of stuff that Pinterest thinks I'll like. Because, you know, it kind of has the algorithm of, you know, it looks through everything that you like, and it kind of suggests new pictures that they think you'll like. But yeah, it's super handy. So if I wanted to like save this picture like as a reference, I would just like put it under the board that I want. You can create new boards, and then you can literally just have boards of references, which is amazing. And honestly, Pinterest has really good photos compared to like Google and like other websites, so definitely get a Pinterest ASAP. Okay, so the next program that I think you guys would like a lot is called PureRef, and basically what it does, it looks like this. It's kind of like pops up as a box on your screen, and you can literally just grab any photo from the internet and drop it in there. And it's pretty handy because you can literally put anything in there from pretty much any website that allows you to. So if I want to add more flowers, I could, and you can resize them as you want. And just like create like a super large board if you want to, of a bunch of pictures. I like to use this a lot for basically everything. I make like custom boards for like certain character designs and aesthetics that I want to work on. Or just like ideas and inspirations and stuff. So I really recommend using PureRef, and if you want to save the board for later, you could use right click and save, and then save as, and then save it on your computer. So yeah, it's pretty handy, and I think every artist should have this, because it really be saving me a lot of time. And you know, because I used to like put all my references on my canvas and then work on a side, and that was pretty painful because, you know, the references were always in the way, and it was just so annoying. So now that I have PureRef, it's so much better. So yeah, I definitely recommend. Okay, so that was it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed and found some of these tips useful. You guys can follow me on my social medias. I have Instagram, Twitter, I stream on Twitch. I also have a Discord server where you guys can chat and share your art. You can talk to me. It's a really nice, friendly, comfy community, and I would love to have you guys there. Also, please like, subscribe, and comment other video ideas or suggestions that you guys would like me to do, because I really want to make content that you guys want to see. So with that being said, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time.